Principal Ryan Murphy. I'm Jacob Irons. So happy to have you with us on the second floor of the Duncan Student Center on a dead Sunday as we return back from break. It's pretty dead out here, Ryan.
It is, and honestly, a nice way to see it a little bit. It's nice to have a little bit of quiet before things get going here. How was your break?
It was good. It was good. A lot of papers. However, one team was continuing to write their Cinderella story in March Madness, and that was Notre Dame's women's basketball, who they got it started early, and they took on Southern Utah in a dominant fashion, and it was maybe one of the best games at the current moment, and Notre Dame ultimately winning 82-56. However, the couple things that really stand out to you, Notre Dame started to play well, and it was Sonia Citron and Maddie Westbell getting it done.
Absolutely. Westbell was terrific. She led the team with 20 points, and I think really just the mentality of Notre Dame. That was one of the things that, if you watch that post-game video that Notre Dame put out on their Twitter, and Niele Ivey walking into the locker room, that's one of the things she talked about. She talked about perfect dominance and then the mindset and mentality, particularly the start of the game. The team led 27-10 after one. They came out and left no questions from the start, Jake. I really like that, and it's something they're going to have to continue going forward.
And it's something they have to continue going forward, especially in the conversation of you're without Dara Mabry, who went down earlier this year, and then you have Olivia Miles, who got ruled out before this game, as she is done for the year with a knee injury. Still a little vague on what that possibly could be. However, it's 82-56, they get it done. But maybe the biggest question mark here that's starting to spark, and we'll talk about it in the game that happened today, Notre Dame went 3 for 14 beyond the arc. That's 21%. That's not ultimately great, and that somewhat plagued them today against Mississippi State. First time squaring off against the Bulldogs since the 2018 title game, where Arike Agumbawale had the ultimate shot. And right now, Notre Dame held them to their own and was able to outlast them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the key factor for Notre Dame today was Lauren Ebo. She had 18 rebounds. That was a team record in the NCAA tournament, actually. So she was outstanding. And again, I love talking about the post-game videos. And Niele Ivey walked into the locker room, and she's calling Lauren Ebo's name. She was the selection to, put the sticker on the advancing in the bracket, which I thought was pretty cool. Just a testament to how good she was today. And part of that, filling in for those big key characters that they lost with Mabry and Miles is having pieces like Lauren Ebo stepping up like she did today.
Yeah, she stepped up. However, the biggest concern, Notre Dame's all made baskets coming within the paint as well as maybe in the mid-range jumper. Nothing beyond the arc. They went 0 for 7 beyond the arc. That is their second worst all season, when they went 0 for 9 against Boston College earlier in the year, a game that ultimately shouldn't have been as close as it was. So definitely beyond the arc is starting to get there. However, when you talk about the game they're going to come up after Maryland was able to beat Arizona, they've already seen each other once. However, to quote Muffet McGraw, your season starts again in March, and that's going to be something to play against. However, this isn't the same Notre Dame team that Maryland saw.
No, absolutely, Jake. And I think something that we were talking about just before the show was that post presence that Notre Dame did not have in that game against Maryland earlier in the year. And I know you're going to elaborate on it a little bit more, but Ebo was so good against Mississippi State today. That could be something that going forward fills that void that they lost that game to Maryland earlier in the year.
Yeah, and it talks about it. They tried to establish that post in that Maryland game because they understood that that's where their advantage was in that Irish offense. That's where they really struggled to get it going. And I think this is something that we talked about. Ebo having maybe one of the best games of her career coming off of it. She didn't necessarily have one of those games. She wasn't even a player in conversation throughout the Maryland game down the stretch. And mind you, this was a game that set up for Notre Dame to beat UConn in their own place. However, then you have to talk about on the defensive side of this, where they didn't have a post presence either, where defensively they just let Maryland come into the paint and do what they wanted.
Especially for Diamond Miller, who is Maryland's absolute rock star in that game, and she has been all season long. She had 31 points carrying the team in that game. It's going to be key to shut her down. She had 24 points today against Arizona as well.
Yeah, and you're going to talk about this. This is just basic moves that just Notre Dame was getting beat on. You'll see her out there. They're going to go 5 out here essentially, and they're just going to let her drive in and watch the spin. Here we go. Comes in and just takes it paint. That's simple high school basketball. You're going 5 out and bringing your one player in and bringing him with you. However, once we get Ebo has gained confidence, so this is what you expect. You'll see Ebo here right in the paint in the restricted zone. She pulls up and steps up. However, I think that's Ebo getting a little more, having a little more knowledge and getting a little more experience under her belt, understands that she's got to come up there, provide a little bit more of a stronger defensive. And then ultimately Notre Dame would to lose on this buzzer beater to Maryland, which is ultimately a dagger. And when you talk about it, there's no better time to right a wrong than in March Madness, and they're hoping to do that.
Absolutely, and this game was close. I know Notre Dame is missing their 2 star players, but there's no reason, if you're the Irish, to put that. You can put that in the wastebasket. There's no reason why you can't, and just look ahead. Like you said, March is a new season unto itself. That's the reason why they call it March Madness, right, Jake?
They really do.
So, absolutely, throw in the wastebasket. The game was close to begin with.
Yeah. They'll play against Maryland on Saturday. Time still TBD at the current moment to elaborate for ESPN. But Saturday, Notre Dame will get it done, hopefully against Maryland. You'll have more coverage about that game coming up on Friday on Shamrock Sports at 3:30 in the Duncan Student Center and on YouTube shortly after. For Ryan Murphy, for Jake Miller in the back, I'm Jacob Irons. This has been a special edition of Shamrock Sports. Signing off.